is our third interview of the day, and we are going to close it down with the one and only Nikki Nash. I need to come up with like a nickname for you. I think it's like you should have like your own talk show, Nikki, like the Nikki Nash Show. We are going to talk all things marketing and marketing based on your genius today. And Nikki's talk topic is all about marketing is very similar to dating, and you can actually excel at it. I know I'm excited to dive into this conversation. Anytime you get the two of us together, we could like go off and get on our soapbox about internet marketing and the coaching world and marketing in general. So who knows where this conversation is going to go, but welcome, Nikki. I'm super excited to have you. If you'll take just a couple of seconds to tell us a little bit more about who you are so we can get to know you better.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. And hi, everyone who is watching, whether you're watching live or watching the replay. Again, my name's Nikki Nash. And yes, that's my real name. I often get asked, like, is that a stage name? I'm like, no, my parents named me Nicole Nash and have been calling me Nikki since before I can remember. So it's my name.
Maybe they had bigger plans than mine for what you can do with that name, Nikki.
I know. I mean, you said like the talk show. I'm like, that's in my life vision plan. So I'm sure it's happening. And I had a podcast called The Nikki Nash Show, but I reserved that name for something else. So now I have a podcast called Market Your Genius.
Super cool. Super cool.
Yeah.
And you're writing a book right now?
I am. I'm writing a book. So to tell you guys a little bit about me, my background's in marketing. I spent like over a decade working at like big brands, Fortune 100 companies. I was building this career where I was like, I'm going to be the CMO of a big company because I thought that's what I should do when you're in marketing. And so by the time I was 26, I was making six figures. I was working on digital marketing, building kind of the online and offline worlds together through marketing for Intel. And I thought that life was great until it wasn't. And I basically found out that ovarian cancer ran in my family. My aunt was diagnosed and really sick. I found out my mom had the gene, and I was just kind of like, life's too short to be doing stuff that you don't really care about. Yeah. So I decided to really pursue my passion of entrepreneurship. And I got into the startup world and worked with some startups, and then ultimately created what I now call a personal and professional development company called Market Your Genius. And it's all about how people can be successful at turning their passions into an actual business and to turn their area of expertise into an actual business, because so many people wake up and they're like, I'm great at this, I'm going to start a business. And the reality is most of them are going to fail or go back to work. And I know so many people don't want that. So I'm really there to help people not have to go back to work and you know,
yeah. Well, and now would not be the time that we need to be looking for a job. So I love it. I love it. Okay. So I know that one of the things you're going to talk about is kind of this, I guess it's more of an analogy than a relationship, but this analogy, or is it a metaphor? I don't know. I'm not an English teacher, but marketing is like dating. What do you mean by that?
Yes. And it's funny. I probably about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even a little bit longer, I was still working in corporate, but I started teaching these marketing classes, and I started using a lot of kind of analogies for people so that they could go, oh, okay, this isn't so complicated. Marketing isn't so complicated. And I realized that marketing was exactly like my dating life at the time, and probably still is. And what I mean by that is when you are, let's say you want to meet the love of your life, or you want to meet your partner, there's typically like a sequence of things that happen. And the first thing is you try to be where you think these potential mates are, whether that is at a bar or at a club or on a specific dating app or in your friend circle. There's usually a place where these people are hanging out, and you're like, how do I meet this person? And that's very similar to your business. You're usually looking for one specific audience, one specific person to be your client, and you're like, where the heck do they hang out? And then once you're hanging out with them, you kind of have to get them to notice you. It's not just like they're there and therefore they will come and hire me. You really have to get on their radar and start building that relationship and get to a point where they trust you and they are like, wow, this is the person that's going to help me get results. And that's very similar to dating, because you get to know the person you're dating, and eventually the person's like, yes, I want to commit to you. And so really, when you're marketing your business, you're going through a lot of the same kind of steps and almost like relationship type things that happen when you're choosing someone to help you, whether it's grow their business or help you, find your dream relationship or help you improve your sales or whatever it is that you do as a coach or a consultant. The same type of relationship building steps you're going to have to do as a business owner as you would if you were looking for a partner, down to if you break up and you have a disagreement and you have a contract and you're like, all right, we're getting divorced. What did the contract say? There's so many analogies there that I just love really telling people. It's literally just like dating. And if you can get a date, you can get a client. And if you can get a client, then you can get a date.
Exactly. Okay. So what if, let's just, hypothetically speaking here, let's say someone is like, well, I suck at dating. I'm not finding a partner. I don't know where to find a partner. And we hear this, Nikki, you and I both hear this from clients and people in our communities and from folks who are growing businesses. And they're like, okay, I know who I want my ideal client to be. I've got my client avatar. Where do I find this person? And then once I know where they are, how am I supposed to speak to them? And something that I've noticed is that a lot of us, I was a teacher, you worked in corporate before you did this, but we were not interacting with people in the online space. We were having conversations with people in real life, face to face. And that seems to be in people's minds so much easier than striking up conversations in the online setting. So for someone who's like, where do I find my people? How do I find the people that I want to work with? And then B, what's that language? Like, how do I articulate striking up a conversation with a stranger who I don't know anything about to even start building a relationship with them? Like, shine a little bit of light on that for us.
Yeah. And what's really funny is that, even when I hear people say, online's hard, in person is easier, I promise you, if I stuck you in a networking event and just was like, go meet your ideal client, it would feel just as stressful and just as hard, because whether you're in person or online, it's still like, is there a match? How can we vibe? How can we connect? And when it comes down to how do you actually find the people and resonate with them, a big part of it is unfiltering yourself and being unapologetically yourself. And what I mean by that is when you're online, especially, and to be honest, it's not even online anymore. I feel like I can't go to a conference or a networking event where I can't find like a million people who do similar things that I do. There's just people who are going to be so much like you all over the place. Doesn't matter the industry you're in. And to be honest, there's nothing wrong with that, because unless you are confident that you can serve the billions of people on the planet by yourself, then it's totally fine and healthy to have that level of competition. Mm-hmm. But if you want to attract your people and find your people, then you have to show up 100% as yourself. And that means unfiltering yourself. That means not saying, oh, I can't say that because somebody might get offended. Well, if that's what you really believe, then offend them, alienate people. That's fine, because the more people you alienate, the people that stick around and the people that keep listening to you, those are your people. And sometimes you don't have to go out on this big hunting ground to find them. You almost want to be like the cute guy at the bar. You just want to sit there and people are going to notice you because you're being unapologetically yourself. Yeah. And so if you can show up where your people are, whether that's in somebody else's Facebook group, whether that's on somebody's podcast, whether that's on Instagram, or you start your own community, doesn't matter, wherever you find your people, just make sure you consistently show up as yourself and consistently share your point of view and your message. And the people that resonate with you and resonate with your message, they're going to be like, hey, how do I stay connected with you? How do I follow you? And you'll have that answer, and there your people will be.
Awesome. Okay. So you started listing off different platforms there. And one of the things that you and I both see are coaches and service-based professionals and entrepreneurs online. And in my opinion, they are trying to spread themselves way too thin in the marketing game and the brand building game, trying to be on all these different platforms, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, email, launching this way, doing webinars, doing affiliates, starting a podcast, writing articles, speaking on stages. And I feel like I know where part of that comes from. And we see the person who's already making 7 figures, who has a 7 or multiple 7-figure brand, they are at a place where they can be in all those places. because a lot of them have 30 people working on their team behind the scenes, actually managing all of that, writing all of that, reposting, repurposing, and all the things. So I have a feeling you and I have a relatively similar philosophy on this, but in my opinion, nobody really needs to be all over the place until they're more than likely at many multiples of 6 figures a year in their business, and they have like mastered one platform. So let's like talk a little truth and like how do you instruct your clients when they are, on a path to like their first 6 figures, their first couple of like multiple 6 figures? How many different places do we really need to be? And how many different platforms do we really need to be managing inside of our businesses to get to that multiple 6 figure level?
Yeah. And I love this question. And I almost want to take it back a step, because I think one of the things that people don't realize when they're saying, I need to be in all these places, is they may have not sat down and really looked at how many clients do they actually need to hit their goals.
Amen.
Like, you usually don't need 1,000 people or 100 people. Heck, you probably could get away with 10 people, depending on what your pricing is and what your product is and what your goals are. And so when you start by having an actual plan that says, in year 1, in year 2, in year 3, this is how much money I need to bring in. I'm going to sell this one product at this price. Therefore, I need this many people. Then you can start realizing, wow, I only need 10 people, 20 people, 30 people to hit my goal. And then you can sit down and go, well, do I think I can find 30 people on this one platform? Answer is probably going to be yes. Mm-hmm. So once you realize just conceptually that you don't have to be everywhere, then you can be more strategic and choose the one place you truly believe you're going to show up and connect with your audience. And that platform is going to be different for everyone because there are a number of factors. It depends on, first, where is your audience hanging out? The reality is that they're hanging out in more than one place. So once you're clear on like weeding out the places they're not hanging out, then you go, okay, where can I show up as my best self? I have clients who I love to death, but they do not do well doing video by themselves. Can I get them to a point where they are great at it? Absolutely. But when we're just getting started, I'm like, let's choose something that will work for you. And for some of them, that means, oh, I can do something like this where somebody's interviewing me and I'm answering questions, but if you just ask me to sit there and talk about something, I get lost. So I'm like, great, we'll still do video because that may make sense for you and your business. We'll start finding opportunities for you to be interviewed. Bam, that's the only thing that you could do to start getting your name out there and building awareness. If you love Instagram, if it is your favorite thing on the planet, maybe Instagram's your jam and you build a community there and you start getting yourself out there on that one place. But I tell people you can make $250,000 being on one platform easily.
Oh, or more.
Or more. I was going to say, really, you can probably make $500,000 to probably really $1 million on one platform easily. But the thing is that I always tell people, get to your first 6 figures on one platform, master that platform, and then we can start considering if we want to add something to the mix, because it's just, for me, smart business practice to have more than one source of generating leads. But I don't recommend that people learn all of those sources at the same time, because if you try to become like the expert on TikTok when you're still trying to figure out Instagram and you have no idea how to do a podcast, and you thought all 3 of those would be great for you, then you're just going to show up kind of crappy on all those places, as opposed to mastering one and then going, bam, I got this. I can do it in my sleep. What's the next easiest thing for me to master and learn? And then before you know it, you have a couple of different pathways, like 2 to 3, that you can say, hey, I know I can get people from here so that if tomorrow Facebook implodes, I'm not completely screwed. But I say spend a year mastering one and doing one and getting yourself to that like 250, even just like the 100K mark before you even consider thinking about another platform.
Okay, cool. So when you use the word master and you're talking about like master one platform until you get to a certain financial level, like what are some of the boxes that need to be ticked that fall underneath this category of you have it mastered? And what I mean by that is, I think some people think like, oh, I know how the platform functions. I've shown up on the platform for a year. I've been using this platform for a year. I've gotten a little bit of traction on this platform. But then it's like, Do you just know how to use the platform, or have you mastered certain aspects of yourself, your business, your marketing, your strategy, your messaging, like all these things? Because they'll go to another tactic or they'll go to another platform. But like what I'm hearing you say is once I add on the second, third, and fourth platform, it's going to amplify what I have figured out on the first platform. So when you talk about mastery, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And when I say mastery, I don't even mean that you need to know all of the bells and whistles and how the platform works inside and out. Like, unless you are getting a job and you are going to be the go-to expert of Instagram for a Fortune 500 company, then I don't care if you only know 3 features on Instagram. What I mean by mastering, I mean that you've set up a system where you go, okay, when I show up every week or every day or however frequently it's going to work for you on this platform, and I do these things, I will generate X amount of money. And when you figure that out, then I consider you mastering it. And that's why I tie it to like the first 6 figures, because if you can make 6 figures by only showing up on one platform, then you know that you figured out, okay, well, people tend to resonate with me when I do this. Okay, people tend to sign up for a discovery call or say yes to my program when I do these things. And when you have those learnings, then you can bring them to other platforms. And so what I really encourage people to do is to sit down and go through the steps. The steps are pretty simple, regardless of the platform. You're going to need people to know that you exist. You're going to need people to say, hey, I want to hear from you. You're going to need people to say, great, I like what you're saying and what you're doing. And they show up and they engage consistently. Then you're going to need somebody to say, ooh, your program sounds interesting. And then they say, yes, I want to buy your program. And when you're able to kind of walk people through those steps. And when I say on one platform, it doesn't mean that you absolutely have to have it where like they heard about me on Facebook, they joined my Facebook group, they said yes to my program in Facebook Messenger, and they paid me through Facebook, though that does work and you can absolutely do that. But if you're like, all right, I really actually want to get them on the phone, if that is your process, then cool, take them from Facebook to the phone. But the only main reason or way people are getting on the phone with you is through that one channel, then you know it's working. Because you're saying, hey, I'm generating these really high quality customer leads through this one platform.
Yeah, totally. Okay, that makes it so much more clear. And it also makes it, you're really taking it back to the basics, and you're very much simplifying the process to get to 6 or multiple 6 figures. And it's like, master who you're talking to, your ideal client, master the messaging that really resonates with them, get into a content creation rhythm, master the marketing steps that you're taking people through. And then also, and this is the piece, and I'm just going to call this out. I actually heard someone else calling this out today. I was watching a video. It's a good friend of mine. And she said, one of the reasons why she was talking about why people try to jump over generating one-on-one clients and they go straight to groups is because they're avoiding having the sales conversations. And so they send people to a page to click a button and buy. Now, we're talking about something a little bit different here. We're talking about jumping from one platform, one tactic, one strategy to the next. And you know what? If we're going to just drop some truth bombs here, I think that one of the reasons why people are hopping from one to the other is because they're trying to find that easy way to not have to actually talk to people one-on-one. And I don't know about you, Nikki, but from my experience, the only way I figured out my ideal client and my messaging and what was going to work is because I've had so many doggone conversations, like on the phone or on Zoom with people who are my ideal client and who are not, and having so many sales conversations, lots of which did not end up in a yes, in order to really figure these pieces out before adding on all these platforms. What's your experience been like?
Yeah, I mean, I personally feel like more people need patience and focus as entrepreneurs, because the reality is if you just look online, everybody and their mother has a proven way to get you clients and to make you money. Yep. And for a lot of those people, yeah, that way is true. Like it worked for them. But the reality is you may not like it. It may not be right for you. You may not be at the stage of business where it's going to work for you. And a lot of people end up getting shiny object syndrome, where they try one thing and they're like, ooh, that was too hard, or it didn't work for me. So they jump to the other. Case in point, I have a client who I love dearly, and I am oddly, in a weird way, grateful for a pandemic, because it's forced her to do things that she has been resisting forever. One of which is to have more sales calls with people, and to do it through video, because she would try to default to, oh, well, I'll try to meet somebody in person sometime, or like, I'll just email them and text them and we'll see how things go. And I'm like, no, get on the phone with people, speak to people, ask them questions. And yes, it can be scary to get rejected all over the phone through sales calls. And it can also be scary to put yourself out online and do a video or do something and realize that nobody's watching, or people are heckling you, or anything along those lines. But the reality is the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And the people who you're connecting with, they'll love you and trust you that much more. So getting on the phone with people, that's going to be, if you can get somebody to say yes to you after speaking to you or being on the phone with you, then that's going to be probably a client that's going to stay longer and really feel fully committed than if you just went, watch this video, click this button, hope they buy. Like, you'll know exactly what worked. And so I mean, you and I talk about it all the time. I tell people all of this is just a giant science experiment. And if you don't want to be someone who fails consistently and like has to tweak the same thing over and over and over again, then maybe you shouldn't be an entrepreneur, because it's pretty much that's all you do all day is you're like, I have a hypothesis that if I do this, I will make money. I will get clients. All right, well, something didn't work. Let me look at the numbers. Let me figure out where I went wrong. Let me do those one thing and test this one variable and do the whole thing all over again. Oh, it worked a little bit better. Let me change this other variable over and over and over and over again.
It's just like a game. And, you come from a corporate background where you were actually doing digital marketing. And what I'm hearing you say is, we're all experimenting every single day. Even people like me, even people like you who are supporting people in business. And we do have frameworks. We do have a process. We do have like our signature system that we take people through, that we have done, that we've created, that we know works. And even within that, every single thing, like I'm just going to out myself. I can allow myself, this is all on me, but I can let myself get really frustrated when people are asking me certain questions, like clients are asking me certain questions, basically wanting me to guarantee that if they go take XYZ steps in XYZ order just the first time, that they are going to get like this smashing result. And then if they don't, they come back and then they basically expect me to tell them like every single thing that they need to do in a different way, in the right way, so that they actually get the results that they want. And I'm like, you do realize that all of us are in like this big lab experimenting with everything every single day. Now, you come from the corporate digital marketing background. Is it the same kind of mentality at that level? Like, hey, we're marketing geniuses here. We're sales geniuses here. You've got a massive budget that you get to play with all the time. But even at that level, is there still this mentality that we're basically experimenting to see what's going to work?
Yeah, it's really funny because I think I became 2000% a better marketer when I started working at tech startups. So I left corporate for tech startups and then I went out on my own, because the reality is that I was high up in marketing in corporate and I had agencies that did stuff for me and I had budget, and it was just kind of like, you have all this money to play with. Let's do something. And no matter what, you just learn to spin whatever it is that you did to be either positive or to be a learning or to be, worthy. So in corporate, you can get away with a lot of BS, to be honest. Yeah. And one of the biggest challenges I have from my clients that go straight from corporate to entrepreneurship is, and not all of them, but some of them are like, I was in marketing, I got this. And I was like, yeah, except for it's not the same thing. You don't have millions of dollars to just blow on working with influencers or celebrities or to do these really cool photo shoots. You have limited budgets, limited dollars, and you have to get craftier and grittier when you're marketing. So I wouldn't really say it's the same thing. I absolutely got a really strong marketing foundation in corporate and understood like how things work and how to manage a business more than anything. It's like setting budgets, coming up with plans, creating projections. Those things help me tremendously. But when it comes down to like the committing to something and doing the same thing over and over again, I think that becomes even more important when you are small business, entrepreneur, startup, because you don't really have that kind of cushion of money to go, well, it didn't work out, but I'm okay because I'm still going to get a bonus this year. Like that's not going to happen.
Yeah, right. So when you mentioned the words patience and focus earlier, a few minutes ago. So when it comes down to it on a daily basis, and you and I, again, we share really similar philosophies and how we run our businesses and how we operate inside of our businesses. And you and I both really like simplicity. Yeah. And I know I really love focusing on, like, I only focus on 2 to 3 main activities every single day. If I've got 8 different activities on my calendar a day, like, I'm going to go bananas. And I think that's one of the things that causes people to get burnt out, to get really tired, to like almost want to throw the towel in, to get confused, to almost create like so much drama and chaos in their business. I also think the more activities people are doing, that it's actually covering up and it's hiding the errors that are happening, that's creating, it's making it even harder to identify what those errors are. And I'm a really big believer in, you want your errors to be glaringly obvious. And the more simple your marketing and sales plan and system is, the easier it's going to be for you to spot what you can quickly shift or adjust and really collapse that timeline. So if we're going to get it like to the bare bones basics and really simple, the foundations that even the multiple 7-figure business owners are doing, they just have more sophisticated levels in place. Like, what are those 2 to 3 activities that everybody really needs to focus on every single day to help them market their genius and build a business around that?
Yeah. I am so with you, and you know I love simplicity. And I would say that the things that I do on a consistent basis is I nurture my community. So you choose one way that you're going to nurture your community. I have a podcast. That is my jam. Twice a week, you get episodes from me. That's it. If you are like, hey, I can't afford you, I'm like, that's great. Go to my podcast, because I give really awesome, epic content there. And I make sure that I nurture the heck out of that community, because that's where people come from when they're like, wow, I really feel like I get to know Nikki. I want to work with her. Same thing for you with having, structured freedom. If you're a part of this community, then you're really getting Megan. You're getting your time, you're getting your energy, your philosophy, and you love the heck out of your people. And so I really encourage people to sit down and go, okay, what is the one place that I'm going to create, the one thing that I'm going to do where I'm going to nurture the heck out of people? And sometimes it's a little combination of things. So for example, you may have, your Facebook group, and then you have an email list, but really all you're doing with your email list is driving people to the group and letting them know what's happening in the group as like a nice little reminder. So like, I think a lot of people get it collapsed where they're like, wow, I have to write these mind-blowing emails every week, and then I have to do this game-changing content in a group, or I have to do a podcast. No, you choose like the one thing that you're going to go all in for, and then anything else you do is just driving traffic there. Your social media posts, wherever you choose to post them, does not need to be like all new game-changing content. You could just take what you're giving in your group and break it down into smaller bites and say, here's information. You want the full shebang? Head on over to this community. And it's kind of like all arrows are driving, like, here's the community. Everybody's pointing to the community. Like, just get people in there. And so if you ask yourself every day, like, how am I adding value to my community? Then you're doing your job. And then the other piece to that, if I really focused it on like 2 things, if you are going, I'm nurturing the heck out of my community, the other piece would be like, how the heck are you converting your community into clients? Because I think so many people focus on the first 2 pieces of like, let me nurture the community and let me get more people into the community. And you can have a business that's like, I'm doing all these marketing activities all the time, and you're not making any money because you are avoiding saying, listen, if you have this problem, I can help you with this program. Let's get on the phone and see if this program is truly a fit for you.
Yep.
And if we can come up with a win-win, cool. Here's how much it costs. Put in your credit card. We're good.
Yep. Yeah. And look, even at the advanced levels, even when people are, they've got an amazing multiple 7-figure business with all different kinds of layers and funnels and yada, they're still following that same basic principle. Like that is what everything is doing. They just have it, they're on more platforms. They have prettier graphics. Maybe they have a bigger Facebook ad budget. Maybe they have a few more steps in there. But at the end of the day, they're following that exact same piece of advice right there.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you said, which just like warms my heart, is you said they have all these fancy funnels. And the reason this is going to be soapbox time with Nikki for a second, I freaking hate it when people say like, oh, I need a funnel, because what I've concluded is that nobody knows what a funnel actually freaking is. And so many people have taught what funnels are incorrectly that it makes me mad, because in marketing, when I went to school and learned in corporate and then taught these classes, all a marketing funnel is, and all a funnel is taking someone who doesn't know you to be warming them up to be a client. And it doesn't need to be an ad to an email sequence. That's not a funnel. That is a type of funnel or an example of a funnel. But a funnel could literally be, I go to networking event. I meet people. They give me their business card. I send them an email. We grab coffee. I invite them to work with me. Client. That's a funnel, because you're just going, hey, I have a stranger now knowing that I exist and that they want to work with me. That's like an example of a funnel. And so what I really encourage people to do is to not get tripped up in all the fancy language out there about why you need webinars and why you need a funnel and why you need, a video series or whatever the heck, or to write a book tomorrow. Like, you don't need to do all of these things. You need to choose one thing that's going to help you grow your audience, like get exposed to more people, build your awareness. And then you need one way to get those people in and to buy from you.
You've got to become known for something. You have to let yourself become known for something so that you can get to those other phases in your business.
Absolutely.
Love it. Awesome, Nikki. This has been so fabulous. I know people are like probably wondering like, where do I find your podcast? How can I find out more about you? So definitely tell us a little bit about your podcast. I know that you're doing that 2 times a week, and anything else that you want to give away or invite people to go venture on over to check out.
Yes, absolutely. And man, 30 minutes goes by so fast with you, Meg.
I know.
We talk and I'm just like, preach. Oh my gosh, time's up. So you can check out my podcast. It's called Market Your Genius, and it's on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher. So wherever the heck you want to listen to it, it's Market Your Genius. You can also go to marketyourgenius.co if you want to look out for it. But one of the really cool things that I'm doing is that I have a 30-day challenge coming up in May. It's starting May 11th, and it's called the Triple Threat Challenge. And it's all about how you can build your income, build your level of influence, and build your level of impact by being visible, sharing content, adding value. And so if you, I'll give you the link. It's just triplethreatchallenge.live. Anybody can sign up for it, and it starts May 11th. And what's different and really cool about it is that I have a new platform where you can literally text me your questions, your challenges, your wins directly. Like, you'll literally be, hey, Nikki, on my cell phone. We'll be messaging back and forth. So I'm really excited for that, because I want to continuously support people.
That's awesome. I'm going to be chatting with you about the text message stuff, because that is something that I have been exploring, adding to the text messaging. Ooh.
Yes, we can absolutely talk about it, because I have stated for probably the last 4 years that I freaking hate email, in that I don't mind like sending them to people for like, hey, check this out, but I don't like back and forth emailing. I'd rather do text messaging, voice memos, anything along those lines. So I'm really excited for this.
We'll have to chat about the text messaging. Awesome, Nikki. Thank you so much. As always, you and I love getting together to chat all this marketing stuff and simplicity and focus. So I appreciate you so much. I know everyone got so much value out of our conversation today. So thanks for being here with us.
Oh my gosh, anytime. I love it.
Totally. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Nikki, I'm sure will be here to answer your questions. If you want to put those in the comments section here underneath the video, she can pop in and answer any questions that you have, and let us know what your biggest takeaway was from our conversation. All right, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye.